And the big story tonight on Left, Right and Centre. Congress leader Ahmed Patel, who died 2 years ago, plotted against Prime Minister Modi with the arrested activist Teesta Setalvad following the 2002 Gujarat riots. That is what the Gujarat State Police said today in a charge strongly refuted by the Congress party and by Mr. Patel's family. The opposing the activist Teesta Setalvad's request for bail, a special investigation team of the Gujarat Police told a court that she was part of a larger conspiracy to dismiss the BJP government in Gujarat, led by then Chief Minister Narendra Modi at the instance of Ahmed Patel. The case will now be heard on Monday next. Mr. Patel was political advisor to the Congress chief Sonia Gandhi at the time. He succumbed to COVID in November 2020.
2 years after his death, veteran Congress leader Ahmed Patel has been accused by the Congress SIT of hatching a conspiracy to destabilize the then Gujarat government led by Narendra Modi. They allege activist Teesta Setalvad acted at his behest to implicate innocent people in the 2002 Gujarat riots. The SIT has alleged that ex-Gujarat Chief Minister Modi was falsely framed. Ahmed Patel conspired against ex-Chief Minister Modi in 2002 Gujarat riots case. Ahmed Patel and Setalvad plotted to frame Modi. Teesta Setalvad got 30 lakh from Ahmed Patel. SIT cites the witness statements in affidavit to court as Gujarat Police opposes Teesta Setalvad's bail plea.
Ahmed Patel to matra ek naam hai. The driving force behind Ahmed Patel was his boss, Sonia Gandhi. नाम अहमद पटेल काम सोनिया जी इसलिए अपने मुख्य राजनीतिक सचेतक, अपने मुख्य पॉलिटिकल एडवाइजर अहमद पटेल के माध्यम से सोनिया जी ने गुजरात के छवि को धूमिल करने की चेष्टा की। अहमद पटेल जी के माध्यम से सोनिया जी ने नरेंद्र मोदी जी को घेरने की चेष्टा की।
In a hard-hitting statement, the Congress said this was a part of the Prime Minister's systematic strategy to absolve himself of any responsibility for the communal carnage unleashed when he was Chief Minister of Gujarat in 2002.
People of India, people of Gujarat are intelligent enough to realize that Narendra Modi has nothing to show as his achievement. Therefore, he hides behind such stories. मरणोपरांत भी आप कटघरे में खड़ा करने से नहीं चूकते, लानत है ऐसी राजनीति पर।
Ahmed Patel's daughter Mumtaz Patel questioned the timing. After getting a clean chit from the Supreme Court, the Gujarat SIT has arrested its former police officer Sri Kumar, Teesta Setalvad and Sanjeev Bhatt for allegedly fabricating evidence to frame innocent people in Gujarat riots cases. NDTV Bureau Report.
And political opposition is translating into hostility, which is not a sign of a healthy democracy, the Chief Justice of India, N.V. Ramana, said today speaking at an event. He also said that there used to be mutual respect between the government and the opposition, which is diminishing, and added that the issues of hasty and indiscriminate arrests, difficulty in obtaining bail and prolonged incarceration of under trials, all of these were marked as urgent issues by the Chief Justice, speaking in comments that assume huge significance given recent events. So, an acrimonious war of words has erupted between the Congress and the ruling BJP in the wake of the Gujarat Police's affidavit, which claims that the activist Teesta Setalvad and others plotted to destabilize the Gujarat government after the 2002 riots. That's 20 years ago at the behest of the Congress leader Ahmed Patel. Manufactured charges, said the Congress. The SIT is dancing to the tune of its political masters. So on Left, Right and Centre, we're asking, are state agencies being misused to settle political scores? Who will defend the dead? And where does this end? Joining us on Left, Right and Centre tonight, Sujata Paul, leader of the Congress, PKD Nambiar, political analyst who supports the BJP, Ashwini Dubey, advocate in the Supreme Court, also a supporter of the BJP, Neerja Chaudhary, a senior journalist, and Vikram Singh, former DGP of UP. So first and foremost, PKD Nambiar, let's go with you. 22 years after the riots, now to bring up these charges, Ahmed Patel's daughter perhaps let me start by the questions she's raised. She's asking why now? Why not in the last 22 years when he was alive?
That's a very good question in a way, that it is definitely there are things in this country takes a lot of time. That is, we all know that just about a month ago only the Supreme Court has cleared the former Prime Minister. He was kept under shadow because of, as 22 years it took for him to be relieved by the court forever. That there was nothing which was done by them or by the then Chief Minister of Gujarat. Now, there were so many people, like many were in the country, were always believed that there was a conspiracy to malign the then government, then the Chief Minister of Gujarat. And many people, not only in India, across the world, were known to have believed that there was a conspiracy. Now that since Mr. Modi, the Supreme Court has already cleared that there was nothing has been done wrong by the then Chief Minister and that government. Now it is clear who is the people who were the one who were really writing those conspiracy. Now, of course, the people who were celebrating Teesta, Sri Kumar and Sanjeev Bhatt all across, taking them, they were going all around and attending seminars and giving speeches and getting money from all across the world, and who were funding them. And these things need to be now answered. If it was Ahmed Patel, and then the question comes that was he doing it for somebody else? Then who was that? Was it from India? Was it from abroad? I think दूध का दूध, पानी का पानी, कहीं ना कहीं एक बार तो आना ही चाहिए.
But and 1 month, point, it has been 20 years. You've had a Gujarat government in the state multiple times. They've been re-elected, and suddenly 1 month after, why there have been many charges made against Teesta Setalvad in the past. How come this has not come up?
Do you know that the Supreme Court clearly said it needs to inquire such kind of...
Yes, so again, many are questioning the timing, that just a month after the Supreme Court gives this clean chit to Prime Minister Modi and the Gujarat government, Mr. Shah, the Home Minister, makes statements in an interview that evening, and the next day you see these arrests, and now you're seeing these charges being raised. So
what are we questioning? What are we questioning actually? If there is an inquiry,
his daughter is asking why, if these are very serious charges, very serious allegations, how come in 20 years, this is the first time we've heard of it? No, and as a daughter, she asked, why wasn't this raised when her father was alive to defend himself?
So I think 22 years is something which is absolutely true, that it is not because of any the present government or because of the present Prime Minister. It is not, it took 22 years. It is not somebody who, it is the new committee which is appointed has been able to find out these details. Because so far the entire inquiry was going in a different direction altogether. And all the narration, some section of the media was all about talking about that. You remember the famous, the dialogue, the slogan by the Congress president then, that Maut ka Saudagar. Imagine that the then Chief Minister was even denied a visa by the US. So I think rather than just looking at all those aspects, suddenly if there is an inquiry is coming up and a matter which is going to the court on Monday again, I think we should rather be happy that at least the truth is coming out. Now we need to. I think
Sujata Paul of the Congress, the truth is coming out, says PKD Nambiar.
Yes, after how many years? And did the riots take place in 2002, or nobody was killed? Nothing happened to anybody and everything was hunky-dory. All is well, sab changasi. But the point is, who was in power at that particular point of time? It was the Atal Bihari Vajpayee-led NDA government. Secondly, do you remember that it was Smriti Irani who asked Mr. Narendra Modi to resign? And after that, it was the then Prime Minister, Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee, who reminded him of the Rajdharm. And when the Supreme Court at that time had said again that Rajdharm, the things are not okay, he had said in an interview that if Rajdharm is not being followed, things should be all right for the people of that place. And do you remember those visuals on Doordarshan of Mr. Lingdo, who was the chief election commissioner, who said that elections cannot take place because the minorities are very scared at that particular time. He said that. Now let's talk about the SIT chief, Mr. R.B. Raghavan, who was made the ambassador of Cyprus in 2017, not 2002, not after that, but after Mr. Modi came to power. Now, when you are talking about all these things happening, whenever there are elections anywhere, Mr. Modi always has some kind of danger that he faces. And it is the culture of the BJP to talk ill about the dead, and that is what they are doing. Because any court will tell you that whatever is said in hindsight is never considered to be the ultimate truth. Because what you say immediately after a crime has been committed is the truth. If you had a defense, you should have said it then. But you will say it now because the dead will not come back to defend themselves. That is the point. And why minorities have to be targeted? Because Hindu Muslim का agenda narrative setting में लाना है, क्योंकि गुजरात में चुनाव आने वाले हैं. But this is the sign of only a weak leader.
All right.
Yes.
But Ashwini Dubey, the SIT, the Congress, we heard the Congress spokesperson saying that the SIT is dancing to the tune of its political masters. It will sit whenever it's told. It goes on to point out that an earlier previous SIT chief was rewarded with a diplomatic assignment in that after he had given, quote unquote, according to the clean chit to the then Chief Minister. That's what Jairam Ramesh has also pointed out in this statement. Does this not dilute the veracity of the findings of any SIT, especially this SIT? I mean, as a citizen of this country, is this not very worrying? Do you not feel worried about whether one can take anything seriously without, questioning whether these are being manipulated, the findings are being manipulated, why and by whom?
Thank you, Sarah. Sarah, first and foremost, my opening argument is that there is an offense registered under section 468 and 194. What 468, Sarah, talks about? That it talks about forgery, and 194 giving or fabricating false evidence with the intent to procure conviction for capital office. And where from this came, Sarah? This came from the Supreme Court judgment. We cannot rule out that there is a rule of law in this country, and Supreme Court in its judgment has noted at page number 165, Sarah, that there was an attempt to defame the entire state of Gujarat, and there were a conspiracy to achieve the evil design. And in fact, the Supreme Court said that there is a larger conspiracy which was carried out at the behest of certain political people in order to defame the government. Sarah, don't you think that there is an offense? Don't you think that the SIT too have a right to reply? Don't you think that the Supreme Court too have given a judgment saying that the allegations, this SIT report, time and again was not accepted? Sir, as a student of law, very fairly I am saying there is a rule of law. Had it not been the rule of law, Jubair would not have granted bail. Had it not been the rule of law...
So, as a student of law, I just want to ask a question that perhaps maybe in the minds of people, is there an outer time limit when you can make these charges? 20 years, the investigation finds the connection between Ahmed Patel and Teesta Setalvad, whose funds, whose accounts they have been investigating over the years. These two witnesses that they have, named in court, they only found them now within the last 1 month?
Unless and until Supreme Court would have reached to the conclusion, because matter was pending before Honorable Supreme Court. Finally,
absolutely, this has only come up. This is in response to the Supreme Court giving a clear chit. My question to you is whether these allegations, whether these findings could have lain hidden for 20 years and emerged in the past month.
We must understand that there is a Supreme Court, unless and until matter was decided by the Supreme Court, making any attempt by any party. Sarah, don't hear me for supporter of any political party or anything. As a student of law, with all my consensus, Sarah, I am speaking here that there is unless and until Supreme Court would have reached to the conclusion, because the SITs exist as the report of the SIT was questioned, Sarah. So when that was accepted...
Ashwini Dubey, my question to you is the Supreme Court has ruled that there was no conspiracy on behalf of the BJP government in Gujarat at that point of time behind the riots. My question to you is, if there is a connection between Ahmed Patel and Teesta Setalvad, that is a crime irrespective of whether the Supreme Court has said there was a conspiracy on the part of the Gujarat government. So if investigative agencies were investigating Teesta Setalvad, which they have been for 20 years now, would they not independently, should they not have independently raised, found this connection and raised it before?
See,
Does
there
that
was
surprise you?
evidence. There was, look, let me reply now, since you have asked a question. There was an evidence in the final report that proved that Teesta has conjured facts and evidences. She fabricated the documents at the behest of the political parties by the persons who were to be prospective witnesses, as well as she twisted certain things. Now the political objective. Yeah, Sarah.
I want to go. Vikram Singh, as an investigator, as a former DGP, are you surprised by the fact that this was not brought up in the past 20 years and it's come up now? I'm merely talking about the connection between Ahmed Patel and Teesta Setalvad and the allegations the SIT has found that says money was transferred between the two. It was quid pro quo. I do this, in return I get that.
Sarah, good evening. I find it extremely unusual and surprising that just two sections, 468 and 194, as learned student of law Ashwani ji mentioned, just two sections and 20 years. It has taken 10 years to investigate just one section. For any investigation, that to a high-profile one like this, there's an investigation roadmap, a battery of supervisory officers. They look at every shred and leave nothing to chance and analyze everything. I would feel that 20 years is a long time. I think 24 months would have been very, very appropriate. And to just investigate these two and acceptance, agreed, acceptance of 30 lakhs, it's not rocket science. And also, award of the Padam Shri, what was that? Everything. I take everything return. But 20 years is a very long time. Arrest of R.B. Sri Kumar, a DG rank officer, Teesta, a high-profile case, and even got to be noticed by no other than the United Nations human rights body, which poked its nose unnecessarily in our internal matters. Yes, but getting 20 years, I really have no reason. And to Ms. Paul's remark that Mr. Raghavan was made the ambassador, another high-profile CBI director, ex-director, he's no more unfortunately, was also made the governor of Himachal Pradesh. But that is history. I don't know, but CBI also was termed as a caged parrot. So let us not talk about that. But yes, and दूध का दूध, पानी का पानी, to Mr. KDT Nambiar, I would say, दूध का दूध, पानी का पानी जल्दी हो जाए, वरना दूध फट जाता है, और फिर विश्वसनीयता नहीं रहती है.
Neeja Chaudhary, all of this coming in on a day when the Chief Justice has said, I'm just going to pull up his quote over here, political opposition is translating into hostility, which is not a sign of healthy democracy. I do not know if he was referring to this, possibly not. I'm not sure what time he made his comments also. But in that context, I want to ask you, in all of your years of covering stories, this, the whole issue of who will defend the dead, where you have somebody, the Congress is raising, why are these charges being raised now? And his daughter asks that, he's not even here to defend himself.
Yeah, that is a very valid point when we don't know what is going to come out of it because Ahmed Patel is not there. But it is not Ahmed Patel that is significant in this whole case at the moment, the SIT mentioning him. And Sambit Patra, the BJP spokesperson, has already alluded to the master of Ahmed Patel, Sonia Gandhi. So the person under, on the radar of BJP is not Ahmed Patel really, or even Teesta Setalvad. It is the Congress party and the president of the Congress party, Sonia Gandhi. Now, you would have thought that the apex court in the country has cleared the prime minister of all charges as far as the Gujarat riots went. So things would have been allowed to settle, but they are not. It's being taken a step further. And if I was to decode this politically, to me, what does it tell me? It tells me that, will it consolidate the Hindus against the others, the Muslims? In Gujarat, there are very important elections, at year-end in the state, very important for the BJP. And a Muslim political secretary at whose behest an activist acts and is given money, and he is reporting to a foreign origin Sonia Gandhi. So what was afoot, and to malign then Chief Minister, today Prime Minister, does it create a kind of Hindu consolidation? That is a question mark.
All right.
The
All right.
BJP
All right.
And I think one other thing, Sarah, just one other thing. This comes also on a day when you have Jagdeep Dhankar being announced as the vice presidential candidate of the BJP. Again, it is, he has been very, very confrontationist in Bengal with the Chief Minister. Rights and wrongs I'm not going into. What it tells you is we are going to probably see a more aggressive BJP in the weeks and months to come, and the opposition space shrinking more and more within Parliament and outside.
Which is very worrying, as the Chief Justice has also pointed out. I have about 30 seconds left, so please keep it short, PKD Nambiar. Just another response. Ahmed Patel's daughter has also raised the question that, if this were true, then why would Teesta Setalvad not have been made a member of the Rajya Sabha, which was one of the allegations made by the BJP today?
I don't know. That may be something I may not be able to answer that question to the daughter of Ahmed Patel. But then one thing I wanted to be very clear, that everything you don't have to make it to a Hindu-Muslim. In this case, there is no Hindu-Muslim. It's only just about a fact check. An SIT has been formed, and they are submitting their reports to the court. And the court will decide that whether these reports are genuine or not. I think we are just jumping the gun, but there is no doubt if there was a conspiracy, and if there was a conspiracy, who is behind it? If there was Ahmed Patel, and behind Ahmed Patel, who else?
All right, 30 seconds to you, Ms. Paul, but
yes,
the courts will decide, says PKD Nambiar, but based on these allegations by the SIT, Teesta Setalvad has been denied bail.
There is no connection. There is no connection with of the Supreme Court judgment with Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, but they are targeting Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, and like Ms. Chaudhary just said, it is only due to elections. And when you are talking about elections, can we forget that not only the Chief Minister but the entire cabinet was removed? So Mr. Modi has nothing to show about governance in Gujarat, and that is the reason why they are finding
such issues.
That's the reason he keeps
coming back.
Because he finds these issues, Hindu-Muslim.
Congress is losing all the time.
The reason you get Hindu-Muslim, you should be ashamed of yourself. You're bringing this country to this kind of disaster where people are fighting with each other.
All right. Thank you both for joining us.